Gentlemen, how are we feeling? Post game week 9, Sharpe, we're flying. Mack, I feel like we're the kids in the pool meme where like Sharpe is the one and the mom is playing with him, and I'm the one like barely keeping my head above water, and then Mack is just the skeleton at the bottom of the pool.
That's unfortunately quite accurate.
How are we doing, boys?
Sounds good to me. I'll let as long as I can keep a mom playing with me, that's going to be a good season.
Facts. Yeah, welcome into the Three Wanks FPL podcast. We're here to talk game week 9, where basically what happened is that everything that Sharpe said last week in the podcast and who he told us to get in and who he was talking about scored. And everyone who we talked about, me and Mack, I'm saying we, just fucking sucked. And honestly, maybe I'm unfairly looping you into that, Mack. That's just how I'm feeling. Can
we timestamp that? Let's clip that. Let's get that posted real fast.
Get it out to the masses. Yeah, sometimes you got to just say uncle. Sometimes you got to show some humility and just say, hey, I've been fucking up. And truthfully, like I titled this episode "Asleep at the Wheel," and I really do think that's kind of where I'm at. Like, this season has been a weird one so far, where I think we've talked about this quite a bit, but the players who were scoring at the beginning are continuing to score. And the players who were blanking at the beginning are continuing to blank. So like preaching patience, looking at someone and saying, okay, the fixtures, like stuff like that, it's not really panning out. And ultimately it's something where I feel like I have just been lulled into this, I'm seeing players score points and going, oh, well, is that sustainable? Maybe not go for them. And I think it's time to just be like, all right, these dudes are scoring points, bring them into your team, like try to get ahead of assets before they get crazy. I think it's a little bit of an aggression season. There are elements of that I think are like systemic to the game right now, and we can get into some of that stuff, but also I think some of it's just a little bit of, luck variance, what have you. But regardless, for me, it's time to make a change. I'm ready to go. So wildcard is active. We're ripping this Band-Aid off. Mack, what's the plan of attack for you?
Largely, I think I agree. I think the preaching the patience strategy is about like the first couple game weeks, and we're past those, right? The sample size is large enough to where you can start drawing conclusions. And 100%. So now it's just time to read the writing on the wall and adapt, right? Like you can control how you start because it's a game. But I didn't start well, but it doesn't mean I can't like do better, and it just means I need to like change my strategy a little bit. So I don't know. I think that it's a bummer that I'm ranked 3.3 mil right now, but mostly room to rise.
Yeah, true. Well, I do think part of it though, and like we can touch on this now. I was going to get into this after the game week review, but of why there hasn't been so much like variances, because we're used to having a lot of star players who can pop off in a random week, right? They're playing a promoted side and they score a bunch. So you feel like you have to hop on to certain assets for fixture swings. Obviously, we've had a lot of injuries. We've had teams. If you look through the top teams in theory in the league, like the top 5 from last season or what have you, you pretty much have Haaland. You have really no one from Liverpool who's doing a whole lot. United have been hot and cold. Palmer's out at Chelsea, and in his absence, no one's really stepped up. So like a lot of those top teams, you don't really have the guys, but I think the additional part of why it's been such a weird start is that the promoted sides have just been better than we thought. So it's a lot harder to look at a block of fixtures and say, okay, go attack that. And I think, this is my 3rd season playing FPL. And I think that was the thing that I enjoyed and learned in the first couple was like, okay, if somebody has a really nice fixture run, like go and target that, i.e. what's going on with Chelsea right now. But it's made me blind to the FPL Vibes FC energy of, okay, well, this dude's scoring. I don't give a shit who he's playing. Like you guys are looking at the wrong thing. He's got points in the bag. So with that being said, though, I thought this would be fun. XGC. So who have conceded the least amount of expected goals so far this season? Let's go top 5. Who would you guys say 1 through 5?
Arsenal
number 1. Easy number 1. Number 2.
Newcastle
is correct.
Is that 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
3.
Sunderland in there?
Sunderland is in there, but it is not 3.
They're 5?
They're 5, correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it gets harder.
So so we have
Arsenal, Newcastle, and then we have at 5 Sunderland.
I'm looking at my team, but
is
there's no
Palace
stats.
in there?
Palace is not, and so
Yeah,
this is where
are they 6 or 7?
This is where I had talked about this last week. Palace are 10.
Damn.
So this is where I talked about last week. I think Palace defensively have overperformed so far.
Yeah.
They actually looked pretty solid against Arsenal. We can get into that, but I think they're just a mid-tier defense who are coached really well. Like, I think they're a really solid team, but I think they will start to get back to their mid levels. Anyway, they are not in the top 5.
All right, so we got 3 and 4 left, right?
Correct.
There's a lot of teams. I need like a list of the teams in front of me.
Well, okay, let's start saying who's not in there. Forest, West Ham, Liverpool,
Wolves.
I'm assuming Leeds and Burnley are not in
Leeds
there.
and Burnley would not be in there.
You would be incorrect to say that.
You think?
Fuck, I was going to say Leeds.
Not Burnley.
Leeds is number 4.
Okay.
Damn,
list.
okay.
But didn't they had a fairly easy opening run, right? Like,
so Sunderland have had an incredibly easy opening run, and so the last one is City. I'll just give that one. So it's Arsenal, Newcastle, City, Leeds, and Sunderland. And the reason I bring that up is just to say, like, we've been conditioned, especially with last season, with how quickly the promoted sides just got fucking blown out of the league.
They got murdered last year.
Yeah, to look at teams like Sunderland and Leeds and be like, okay, cool, banker fixture, let's go. Yeah, get their assets, what have you. I think last pod, Mack, you and I reviewed that like Sunderland's first few games weren't crazy hard. Leeds have actually had a relatively tough run, I think, and they've just been pretty solid defensively. It's worth noting that Leeds are really bad on the attacking side of the ball. Like, they haven't scored very much at all. So I think, you can still start your defensive assets against them. But I don't know if they're as much of a banker as they were, or as like you would think for a promoted side. Same with Sunderland, although I do think there's some regression that's going to happen with both these teams probably.
Well, I think it's interesting because that is true about Leeds. But did they put it together this weekend? Like, are they going to start being a little more offensive and being able to put the ball away? Because
they played West Ham. I wouldn't put too much stock in that, but I hear you. They
Sure,
weren't able to score anything against Leeds or against Burnley. I'm looking back at their
great defensive team.
bottom of the tank for XGC.
Damn. All right.
But I think Burnley's an interesting one too, though, because while Burnley, if you look at the XGC, are the worst team for conceding chances in the Prem, when you look at a game like Liverpool, for example, I think Liverpool generated like almost 3 XG in that game, but it was small chances, small like incremental chances. Burnley are really good at that, like park the bus, deep low block, and just survive, right?
I mean, Dubrovka is legitimately kind of sick.
No, he's a dude. It's insane that a 4.0 option is as solid as he is. And like a couple weeks ago, that's what I was really debating between him and Sanchez. I was like, he gets so many save points. I was listening to a pod today, and somebody was talking about starting him this weekend against, or I think they're playing Arsenal. Yeah, so against Arsenal, because he's like, dude, he could just haul. Like if he happens to clean, like he could haul, right?
I do want to touch back on Leeds real quick, though. It's worth noting that like last year, sorry, my camera's completely out of focus. Last year they were in the championship, obviously, but they have parachute payments, so they have the money of like a Prem team from a couple years ago, right? Maybe they're not making that revenue consistently, but it's not too surprising. Like Burnley arguably could be a little bit better, and then it's impressive that Sunderland are achieving, but Leeds has like solid Prem players, and I think it goes to the point of like, if we look at the weakest teams for the past 2 seasons, all 6 of them have just gone immediately down in like almost embarrassing and painful fashion for a neutral fan. But yeah, like this year, the 3 are different. I think we might see some bigger relegations from some like established Prem teams, and we need to just read that. Yeah.
I think when we're talking about fixture blocks and like who to target, one that always jumps out to me is West Ham. I think Wolves is a good one as well. Burnley. But then if we're looking at the XGs conceded on the flip side, it is Burnley number 1, West Ham number 2, Forest, United, Everton, and then Chelsea. So like, and again, XG isn't everything. Like I understand that, but at the same time, it's a good way to measure how teams are doing relatively defensively. You'd like to make the excuse with Chelsea that it's just been a bunch of red cards, but boy, they let up 2 against Sunderland. So it's just like, Anyway, point being, like, it is interesting to think about, like, trying to reframe in your head, like, okay, is United like a solid fixture for attackers? You know, is Everton a really solid fixture for attackers? And are Sunderland and Leeds maybe a little bit harder? And I don't know. I just think that's interesting because I again, asleep at the wheel. I'm trying to be like, all right, take a step back and look at all this stuff.
It just shouldn't have taken us this long to get there because it's not like this is a surprise. Like, it's a surprise, I guess, based off of the last couple seasons of promoted sides. But, like, these teams were very, very solid defensively in the championship, too.
That's like, an interesting one to me is I think I remember hearing when they came up that Burnley were incredible defensively in the championship, but they've been the one that have struggled from that end. But, yeah, to your point, I think that's true. They all did really, really well.
Well, they played a 0-0 game against Leeds, right? So I mean, they're still there against that level of team. So yeah, it's funny that we all fall into a pattern of thinking one way and just not taking, like, actually looking at the data. We just take things that this is how it should be, and it took us until game week 10 to actually speak on it. Game week 9.
It's just the bias, right? It's just you watch the game for long enough and you become used to it being a certain way, and right, like that's why I picked Saul at the beginning. Right, even though I kind of agreed with Luke that the fixtures were better for Haaland and with the talisman theory, right? So we're getting it out in the open, at least owning the mistakes.
Well, but it's also worthwhile, like, you know, the part of it as well is that we looked at a lot of the early stuff and said, okay, trying to discern like trends from just like blips. You know, it's at 4 games in, it's hard to be like, okay, here's the worst defense. And still 10 is still a relatively low sample size, but we're getting close to a third of the way through the season. So it's like, now is when you need to start kind of making those conclusions a little bit more. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to touch on that briefly, but
I don't know if I had, after game week 2 when I was cursing out West Ham, if I'd actually placed the bet on them to get relegated, I'd probably be a much happier man right now.
Yeah, they do not look better under Nuno.
Just take time, right? How can you expect to turn a boat that sinking that fast away in the best league in the world?
Yeah, better not lose your first 6 though, or you'll get sucker punched and kicked out of the team. All right, who wants to go first and look at their beautiful squad?
Let's do me.
Okay. Doing Mack.
The most defeated way of saying that.
Boy.
It's just my fault. It's my fault. I'm a stupid idiot.
It is funny. I know what you're going to say. It is funny that last week, I remember I wish I had it clipped, but
we got to clip it together.
We got to clip it together of you going, why would I buy Raya and bench him ever? And then just bench him and don't quite. And that's ultimately, like, I had a shit week too. And I would be wearing the banana right now if it wasn't for that.
I had just played Raya. I wouldn't be wearing this fucking plunger. I didn't even know I did it. I said last week too that I never even look at my goalie. And so I straight up, when I locked in my team, didn't look at my goalie because I just have Raya playing. It's my fault. There's no other way to get around it.
Will we ever see Mack's team?
Wait, I can.
Is it not up for you guys? Yeah, it's on there.
Oh, sick! It's just a loading circle for me. All right, dope. Like I said, my Wi-Fi was having fun, so maybe.
Well, yeah, no worries. Little technical difficulties over there, but yeah, Mack, talk us through it. Any major thoughts?
Rival is Liverpool's defense.
All right.
Sorry. No, honestly, I'm not too unhappy with the team. Awful week. I mean, 9-0 game week, but I felt like the guys that I had last week, I said I was changing strategies, and I was like, all right, I need to start spending these transfers. Like, I'm just losing value. I'm losing rank by not spending these guys. And I feel like the guys I signed aren't bad. I don't look at any of this team like I need to jettison them immediately, right?
Yeah.
Like João Pedro, obviously, he's been a problem. But I think you got to take that chance against Sunderland, right?
Yeah. And
it could have happened. And spoiler alert, I've already moved for Mateta because I didn't want to get priced out. It's a little risky with the midweek games, but is what it is. So other than that, I'm not too unhappy. Like, it's tough that the chances didn't fall Mintz's way, but he had a nice shot attempt in there. And Dye and Tarkowski, I kind of expected more DEFCONs out of Tarkowski, to be honest. It was a little embarrassing. Yeah. But in Dye, I don't know. He could have had one potentially. So neutral week, but we move. Not much more to say.
So the moves you made were Gyock to Woltemade and then Bruno to Saka. Was that it?
No, I also brought in Minta for Reiners.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
But you have 3 transfers going into this next week?
Should have led with that. No, I have 2 going into the week, and I've spent 1 on Mateta. So potential for another move if I feel like it, and I'm open to that possibility. But yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like any of the moves I have are bad. I feel like it was maybe a little bit rushed to bring in both Wiltermaid and Saka. I'm wondering if those funds would have been spent at maybe like another Arsenal defender, just so I could go get like Mbumo easier. But that's very hindsight bias because United played well. And I thought they would play well against Brighton because Brighton played them very aggressively. And I think United struggle against teams that are sit back more. So I'm happy, right? Like I'm buying into players that are on the teams that are producing points. And that's been the strategy change that I've wanted. So at least I'm doing that.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't beat yourself up for either of those moves. Obviously, it worked in the sense that Gyökeres didn't pop off and Bruno didn't pop off. So I don't think you made the wrong choice necessarily there. I obviously, because I'm on wildcard, I've been looking at the triple Arsenal defense. It seems nice right now, but I worry that their fixtures get a little bit tougher in the next few. And I worry that would be like a little bit of overkill to the point where you'd be sitting there like, oh shit. And ultimately it's a lot to spend in your defense. So yeah, I don't know. I honestly think I'm with you. I think this is a solid squad. It's very similar to, especially with Mateta in there, that of what I'd be wildcarding to. So I think you're in a great spot. You have bank transfers. Like, yeah, I'm with you on not freaking out.
Right. We're turning the ship around. It's not turned around yet, but at least it feels like it's moving in that direction.
For sure. Sharpe, are you still seeing the loading screen? If so, I can go to my team.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yeah, this is my squad. Robert Sanchez. Yeah. What else is there to say? Chelsea sucked defensively. I'm really excited to get away from them. Gabriel hauls again because he's a savage. Saliba gets pulled out at halftime because of course he does. Pedro Porro gets an assist and some bonus. That's amazing. Except that Mickey Van de Ven scored twice or whatever the fuck and just ruined my rank. Bruno got DEFCON, which felt like a hilarious celebration when both Cunha and Mbumo scored, and Mbumo scored twice. So I just, missed the Cunha train entirely. Reinders played good minutes, which was my big worry, but he played really deep. So awesome. Semenyo didn't do a whole lot. Dewsbury Hall blanked, as did the rest of Everton. João Pedro continues to not know how to shoot. Haaland blanked, but no biggie because everybody captained him. And Gyökeres touched his hair more than he touched the ball all game. So yeah, I genuinely, I look at the squad and I want to throw up. Like every single guy that I look through, I'm like, fuck this. So yeah, this was, I was teetering on after the pod last week. We had been texting on the side and I was like actually really thinking about pulling the wild card trigger, but ultimately just felt like I needed a few more questions answered. It would have obviously been better in terms of the short term and the points, but I'm glad I do have a little bit more info. But yeah, it's time.
Out of curiosity, genuine question, not trying to be an asshole, per usual. What info do you feel like you gained from this week that you might take forward?
I think last week I was still feeling like the Bruno, like maybe Bruno's going to turn this around any second here, and I don't want to miss that, especially with how good United's fixtures looked. And then just to see a game where they scored 4 and he was completely uninvolved, made me be like, okay, I'm not going to have any, I'm not going to be kicking myself for getting rid of him.
We were also talking about Gakpo pretty heavily last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gakpo is an interesting one. I'd actually like to get your take on that, Sharpe, because he got pulled at like 60-something minutes, right?
I'm not watching Liverpool games.
Okay. Oh my God, you guys are in like third. It's a crisis.
Yeah.
It is okay.
Neither here nor there. Yeah. So Liverpool continued to struggle, so they really haven't gotten around to it. Gakpo, yeah, he got pulled, but I'm still not super worried. I looking at him on wild card, but I think that they have a couple of tough fixtures or like not amazing fixtures, so I can, if I want to get him in, I can wait a little bit, probably till 12 when they play Forest. That's a nice entry point. Another question answered, I feel like, is just the Gyökeres question of like, is he going to be the guy? And I just feel the same way that you and I were talking about him in Gameweek 4, funny enough, Sharpe, on free hit, is I'm like, I just don't feel like he's a threat. Like he's just not threatening. It's tough if ideally, again, the reason for like the wildcard 12, the wildcard 13 is the fixtures completely change. You could theoretically go without Arsenal. Obviously, I wouldn't because their defense is so good, but like
Yep.
that's when things really switch. But I think just on that point of like not going a later wild card, the whole thought process around wildcard 13 is that you need to make a big structural change, right? You'd have Haaland and Salah, or you'd have Haaland and Isak and somebody else. But it's like looking at Liverpool, I don't think in 3 weeks I'll be convinced that I need to get their top tier assets. So I don't really feel like I'm waiting for anything anymore. And in the meantime, this team is just ass. I also feel like, we're talking about Arsenal assets. I somehow have the worst defender that you could have of theirs. So, and he can't even play a full game. Like I was like, God damn it.
Which is also hilarious because if you go back about 3 weeks, I think we had the conversation of Saliba's the best one to have.
Right.
Because
he's going to DEFCON. Yeah. So, that's where we're at. To your point, like, I know what you're getting at. Like, I'm sure that obviously the week earlier, I would have gotten more points. But I think I also probably wouldn't have been as confident to go with someone like Bumo, who, for example, now is like a lock in my wild card. So stuff like that.
I get that, and that's a perfect segue into my team, honestly, if you're okay with it.
All right. How are your visuals doing? Or can you just rip it off memory?
Oh, I mean, for those of us looking at home, here's what we got going on.
Cool.
No, obviously 57 points, above average, up to 246 overall rank right now, which has just been a consistent like 6-7 weeks in a row of green arrows.
246K. He's crushing
246K.
Big difference.
246 overall would be savage. We'd be shouting it from the rooftops.
Yeah, no, excuse me. It's never gonna get that good.
Never.
But what I'm really mad about is that I didn't listen to myself. So we had a lot of conversation on Friday, specifically overthinking, and I will go through the team that I was confident in was 4 out of my 5 defenders. Burn, he's going to be in there. I still have faith in Newcastle. But obviously Gabriel's, Timber, Locks, Rodon. I mean, I'll hand up, got lucky again with my 4.0, but there was still logic behind picking him as your 4.0. Like, it's still a good fixture.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were that great XGC was, but happy about it.
And West Ham just suck from set pieces. Yeah. So like having a center back against West Ham is never a bad play.
And I would say trend wise overall this year, target those guys. Like consistently, 100%. Those are the guys that are scoring those random headers or scoring points, I should say, FPL wise.
100%.
You want to talk about Arsenal guys that I was in the same boat in terms of I don't like Gawk and I don't have anything against Saka other than I swear that dude gets hurt every 3 games. So I have like it's a total personal like vendetta.
No, it's actually not though. Like that's a real thing. His availability is consistently awful. That's why early in the season when he scored and then got injured in the same game, I was like, this is the most Saka shit ever. So I hear you on that.
So it led me to Eze and paid off this week. We're happy about that. Feel good about him. Enzo, I mean, all of Chelsea, I guess I could say, pretty unfortunate in general. Semenyo didn't do much this week. Where I was mad, getting to it here, ironic that Menta and Sessegnon are the 2 that actually put multiple points on the board versus those guys. But what I was kicking around was the week after my wild card, taking a hit to get Bumo in and take Isak out because I gave up on Liverpool, I guess a week before you were willing to give up on Liverpool. And knew that Isak wasn't going to play, but I was like, I can't just take a 1-week rental. Ironically, was going to go to Welbeck and then bring Bumo in for Menta. And my dumbass said, no, I picked a team for a reason. I'm not going to take the points. So I made a transfer at about 12:31 on Friday, a minute after the deadline passed, to bring in Thiago and bring in Mbumo. And then, of course, they both returned this weekend, and I'm like, my game week 10 team is gonna look real fucking good in game week 9.
Wait, so you actually just missed the deadline? Like you were?
No, I waited on purpose. I waited for the deadline to be over, and then I wanted to avoid price rises. I'm just pissed that I didn't listen to myself and do it.
Wait, so why did you go Thiago then?
Because you got in my head, man. You were in there yapping about minutes.
Hey, Thiago scored too. Chill out.
I know. But you were yapping.
Projecting a little, are we?
Yeah, I was angry. But yeah, no, my own fault for not just listening to myself. But the other reason was that I have Menta already in there, and I was like, do I need 2 players from Brighton? Brighton do have better fixtures than Brentford does. In the next last game week, this game week for sure. But then they kind of turn a little bit for Thiago. Like he doesn't have terrible fixtures for the next until game week 20 something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they do Palace, Newcastle, Brighton, Burnley, and then Arsenal, Tottenham. Yeah, it is a tough run.
It's not great, but I'm not really worried about. I'm worried about Arsenal, obviously. I'm not as worried about Palace as we continue to talk about them.
Right.
And
It's Newcastle, Arsenal, and Tottenham for me. Go ahead.
Tottenham, I'm not even super concerned. Like, I'm not putting Tottenham in the same echelon as them. Yes, Tottenham is still a solid team. They're not a Burnley team or insert whatever, or a West Ham, I guess. But I still think, they should put 3 on Liverpool. We suck, but whatever. They're capable of scoring. So
yeah, and I think Thiago, I've been kicking him around in my wild card. I think he's an interesting one because, and here, why don't we just get into? We'll just pull up that game, but he's an interesting one because it feels like that Chris Wood or Jared Bowen effect, where he's on a mid-table team, but he's just involved a lot. So yeah, I like him. Seems like he's scoring a lot. He's putting up good numbers. And to your point, scored even when they had a tough fixture, even though, I don't know.
Yeah. It was a pin, right? But he's on pins. That's good. Yeah. We like that.
100%. So, we talk about Liverpool every week. I don't know how much we need to continue, but I think at this point, there's pretty much no one I would want. I think the tough part of it is the fixtures go crazy starting in 12. It goes Forest, West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, which obviously we talked about that whole thing. But that 4 feels just like, oh, you got to have somebody. So I think
if you want somebody, I think Gakpo can be an option. I think you almost don't need to go more expensive than Gakpo in any situation, because then you're going Van Dijk if you want. I don't know why you want a defender, but you get 2 points for DEFCONs, so that'd be nice. But Szoboszlai, I'm stealing that certainly from the mind share of Twitter. Watching him, he will play. You don't know what position he's going to play in, but he's going to be on the pitch every game. And he has returned. He has DEFCONs. He's a wild card style player that if you can fit him into your team and you're worried about not having cover, I think that could be a place you go.
While we're on it, let's just do Chiesa because he comes on every time he subs on. He's gonna score. I'm just kidding.
Can't play him
but it is funny. He's just he hits screamers every time he gets on. It's interesting that in the week where finally I was getting my head around Gakpo's minutes are secure, that he gets subbed at 60, but that also happens. There's a lot of fixture congestion coming up, so I'm not crazy shocked.
But I would expect it to happen a little more frequently. And I say that because Slot needs to make a change. Something needs to happen here. In today's world, you get your head called for way too quickly. Yeah. And even after winning last year, okay, I think Mack said it before, that was Klopp's team. He got handed a silver platter and here, you can have a trophy.
Yeah. And 4 Prem losses in a row. So yeah,
it's not good, especially for a team coming off that. So I think there's going to be some major changes. And I think Gakpo is going to suffer from that because he's going to try to get more goal scoring threats in there. And I think it's going to be Ekitike trying to find a place. Isak's still going to be in there. I'd be okay at this point with Salah getting minutes reduced to figure it out, whatever it takes. And I think he's going to get to that point. So it's going to be interesting.
Slot's just got to stop banking his transfers and just play the guys who are scoring.
Well, then that would be Gakpo, to be honest.
Right. No, I agree with everything you said, Sharpe. I don't think the answer for Slot to philosophize. Philosophize, is that a word? I don't think the answer is to bench Salah, though. The team right now, it just isn't making sense. And I agree largely that until it does start making sense, he's going to be chopping and changing it. And those guys, it's always worth reiterating with Liverpool assets. They're always so expensive, right? So you can't have a budget Liverpool asset because they don't exist. So if they're not performing, you need them to perform like a Gabriel or like a Saliba. Yeah. And I think that's just where my rubbing point with them is. It's maybe they're not winning the Prem this year, but they're still a top 4 team, but they're priced like they're winning the Prem. So,
yeah. And I just wonder, to Sharpe's point, at some point, if it's not clicking as a manager, maybe you start just throwing stuff at the wall, lineups, and just being screw it, let's see what sticks. And I do worry about that a little bit.
I don't think we can move off this, but I don't think it really even has to be that complicated. You have plenty of players to move around. I think play your players, give them. I'm going to get too heated. We're going to get on a ramble. I think that he has the pieces. He should be able to make it work. Everyone needs to be a little less selfish, a little more selfless, and play harder for a lot of it.
Period. Get Sharpe in the locker room for the little pregame hype. I like it. All right. Well, speaking of a team that just isn't getting it done, Chelsea. Yeah. Oof. So yeah, we talked about that Sunderland have been surprisingly good, but this still realistically should be a win for Chelsea. And I think from an FPL perspective, it's particularly hard because either you're a João Pedro owner like Mack and I were, or you're an Enzo owner like you are, Sharpe, and you're kind of looking at this team being like, or a Caicedo, but I guess that's a little different. Looking at this team being like, all right, so when's the scoring? Like I was promised scoring. When is that going to happen? And I'm curious to hear what your guys' opinions are on Chelsea assets. I think defensively, I'm pretty nervous. I'd be definitely not a buy, and arguably probably a sell for most of those guys. But offensively, it's tough because yes, they play Tottenham this week, but then they do, I think it's Wolves and Burnley back to back. And as much as, we've been sitting here like talking about, just get the players who are scoring, those do feel like just some really nice fixtures and like somebody's going to score. So yeah, where are you guys at on that? Obviously, Mac.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I want to call back to a point that you actually made like 2 weeks ago, is you said there might be goals, but we don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And like, if we talk about reclassifying who the bottom three teams are, I still put Wolves and Burnley in that. So I could see why you'd want to hold them, but at the same time, they're just not.
You don't know if your player is going to score. Yeah.
Right. Like,
yeah.
They put up an XG, similar XG to Sunderland, which is not great for Chelsea. Right. But even if they do score in Wolves, it could be Enzo, it could be Caicedo. It's probably not going to be João Pedro. It could be Estevao. Like, it's also not clicking over there. And then, I fear similar questions of, are they going to chop and change it until they start getting results? So I don't know. Neutral on them too. Mostly so.
I think because João Pedro hasn't put a fucking shot on net in 84 years, like he's an easy sell. But I'd be curious what you have to say, Sharpe, about Enzo, because I think that's a trickier one of like his underlying numbers throughout the season have looked really good. He's put up solid returns for the most part, and he's not that expensive. So in theory, you could keep him. But to Mac's point, they have players like Neto and Garnacho and people like that who could return instead of him. So what's your thoughts on that?
I think everything we just said, they're kind of like a worse Liverpool, right? I mean, their defense is questionable. Their offense, you don't know who it's coming from. They're just lower priced. I ironically would say, like I said, everything that you hear, you have to go completely opposite it. That's how I view Twitter. For me, João Pedro is going to return 2, if not 3 times in the next 5 weeks.
So are you buying him?
I almost bought him last week. He was really close to being, instead of Welbeck or Thiago, he was really close to coming in for me. That being said, he was going to continue falling because of the ownership that he has, and that people are transferring him out. For me, Enzo is still I would have Enzo or Caicedo, and I would hold whichever one of those I had. I happen to have Enzo. I'm going to continue holding him. He's not a priority transfer out for me. I still think he has opportunities, obviously, to return over the next few weeks with those fixtures that we talked about. But I would not go searching for Chelsea assets right now, and I wouldn't bring them in. There are better mid-priced mids and forwards if you want.
Can we go back to the João Pedro one? So genuinely, is that coming from a place of like, do you see it as, hey, I see what the crowd is doing, so I'm going to try to like zig instead of zag? Because I can't imagine that you're watching him being like, he looks great.
No, it's not that he looks great. It's that here's a guy on a team that pushes forward, that returns early. And unless you're a top tier player, you're a Haaland, you're a years past Salah, you're insert guy, you're not going to be able to do that every week. Like, that's just how the game's played. You're not good enough. Okay, well, now he's gone through the stint of shit. He's still not a terrible player. He's a Premier League player that starts on this team.
For sure.
Eventually he's gonna turn it around. And if there's a time to turn it around, I think it's gonna be here. So that's kind of my thought. And yes, it's also okay, well, I guess I could bring in Thiago and Welbeck or insert, again, random guys here. But like none of the forwards are screaming at me that I have to have them.
Yeah.
If I can afford having him there in case, or the off chance I play him one of the, I mean, it seems like a decent option to me at this point.
Yeah. So a few points there. I hear the like, yeah, he'll turn it around type of thing, but I don't necessarily think it's like the reason to get rid of João Pedro is that he sucks. It's just that he's not getting the ball is more so what it is. It's like more of a systemic thing of, are they not putting him, is Maresca not putting him in the right positions to score? You totally could be right. And I think because of the fixtures they have, it's worth thinking about. Like, could he return in these next few? So there's that. And then I lost my train of thought for what else you were talking about there. But yeah. Oh, it was that you said there aren't good striker alternatives. I think that's where I disagree is like you have Mateta, you have Voltemade, you have Welbeck and Thiago that you mentioned that are all like, all of those guys are returning. They're putting their hand up and being like, I'm the dude. So if I had him still, I think, in Mack's case, like I think I totally understand the sell. I also understand why you could argue he's a buy. I just like a player who's not shooting is very worrisome to me and hasn't been shooting so consistently. If it was like a couple games, he didn't get a shot, but Mack and I have been playing the long game on João Pedro for a few weeks now. And I'm like, damn, he's still just not doing it. Like, what are we doing here? They're, Voltemade scoring for fun.
Not this week.
Yeah, not this week, period. I watched those highlights back today, though. He looked really good. I
think
like him a lot.
I think you can get away with that, or I should say Chelsea can get away with that when they're playing a Forest and Liverpool and winning. I think you look in the mirror once you lose to Sunderland, if you get smoked by Tottenham this weekend, and I think Maresca has to be like, all right, how can I fix this and who needs to get the ball? And I think that could be when you really see a change. So I guess maybe looking more at 11 and 12 as an option to have him.
Yeah, for sure.
Fixtures.
For sure. And I think that's the thing. Those, I mean, they're just phenomenal. And even like, it's not even that bad after that either. So it's Wolves and Burnley. Then they play Arsenal, but then it's Leeds, Bournemouth, Everton. Like they still have, they're just good fixtures for a really long time, which is why it almost feels scary to go without Chelsea players. But I just also like, we need points now. So I see both sides. Talking on Newcastle. Yeah. Voltemade doesn't return. Newcastle concede again. I know, Sharpe, you said you're holding the faith. I would as well. I think Newcastle's defense is really good, and hey, sometimes it happens. You just concede. Yeah, and I'm definitely looking to target them going into this wild card. They play West Ham this week, so to the point of like conceded from set plays and teams to target. Like we'll talk about this when we get into my wild card, but Voltemade it's really hard for me not to have him in this week playing West Ham. I just love that fixture for him. He's scored a bunch of header goals already. Seems like that's what he would be good at doing. And he just looks like they're getting the ball to him and he looks confident and just, he has all the intangibles as well that I'm watching and being like, yeah, he looks savage. I really like him.
He passes the eye test.
He passes the eye test. Any other, I guess there's not too much to touch on here, but any other thoughts on Newcastle, Fulham?
No, I just want to see him keep it clean. And if they don't this weekend, I think then it's time to hit the panic button, right? Like,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't think that's true at all. I think that they are still getting a lot of def cons. Like they're a high floor team even if they're not cleaning, right?
Actually, I was looking at their defenders. Their defenders are not amazing for def cons. But
Berg got def cons, but he got at the game they gave up 2 and he got a yellow. So, okay, he ended up at 2 points.
They don't get as many def cons as you would think. And it's weird too, because we talked about this in our Newcastle pod with Connor. I'm surprised the mids don't get a little bit more on the def con side. But with Newcastle, the long-term fixtures just look phenomenal. Like you could hold them for a really long time and be.
That's what I'm saying. I think that Newcastle would present a lot of value going forward.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to turn it around. I also think
so good.
Not a lot of people own their assets, so it's kind of a nice differential to have in a way. Like I'm looking at maybe doing the double defense, and I think that would be a really nice differential that not most people are going to have, because most folks aren't going to make like a keeper transfer and bring in Pope. I know Byrne was close to a rise, so he's probably coming in for quite a few people, but yeah, it's still not that many.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the ironic part is I would feel safe with Pope back there. I think the person I would lose faith in if they don't clean and he doesn't get DEFCONs is Burn. He's the one on my team. Like Walter is still in there, no matter what.
Big Walt.
And Pope I feel good about just because I think the odds of them happening are still possible. And
I think this is where, like, when you're looking at like something like XGC, you have to kind of trust the process of just being like, look, they're doing the right things, and soccer's an unpredictable game at points, so it's going to happen. But
also worth calling out that they're injured. Like, they got some pieces missing in the back line.
Botman had to come out with a head injury.
So not a concussion. He should be fine. It was just a cut. But like Dan Burns playing left back, which wouldn't really be the move, and Fabian Schär's been off and on. So like there might just be some natural solidity that comes back into that team, and then those like 1 goals that they're conceding to Fulham's become 0 goals. Because what was like a decent XG chance? It wasn't anything crazy.
It was one big chance, and it was like a header right on the line, and then it was another kick right on the line. So I think that's why it's such a big jump in chance. But yeah, I mean, obviously through half they had done very, very little, and then after that they continued to do very, very little. So yeah, I think this is just a solid defense. Little unlucky. It is what it is. I do think the Burn at left back thing is really worthwhile. Again, if you haven't listened to our Newcastle podcast with Connor, that's still super relevant, if not even more relevant now. But he talked about this. He talked about how Burn is going to be the mainstay. Like, he's going to play almost every game, and they might throw him out at left back. However, we've seen as a general trend in the Prem that center backs are better for DEFCON. So Burn going out to that left back has actually made him a little bit worse for DEFCON, which is why I'm looking at, I want to say he calls him Chow, but it's THIAW. So
I'm fairly certain it is Chow.
That's crazy.
The first time I saw that, I was like, who are they talking about? That guy's not on the field.
But yeah, so I'm looking at him. He could be a little bit of a, I know the trend right now is going towards Burn, but I think he could be a nice pick. He's been playing consistently, and he's playing center back. It seems like the rotation is actually between Botman and Schär and not him. So, I mean, I think that could change at any moment. And similar to buying like one of the Arsenal fullbacks, you never know. They could just have the odd game where they're subbed out or don't play the full game. But on the whole, I think that may be the sneaky better option for them. But I think Nick Pope is the easy pick.
I also checked back in with Connor recently, as in today, to ask him like, why is Chow playing now? And he said he's just come and he's looked great. Like, he's looked fantastic. The fans are calling for him to keep playing. He's been far and away the best player on the back line. So it seems like if you're concerned about Dan Burn playing left back, you could pick up Chow. He's a cheaper option playing center back.
Yeah, he's like 0.2, maybe 0.3 cheaper than Burn.
Yeah,
so
marginally, but might help you afford a move, and then it's less risk having Newcastle players.
For sure. All right, moving right along. Arsenal Palace. It's a weird one. Everything that we were just talking about, I kind of thought Arsenal might have a big game offensively. They continue to be just super dominant defensively. And I mean, what else is new there? It's almost boring to talk about. But yeah, Eze scores against his old club. Kind of love that for him. But he also gets the early sub. So, he's a weird one. I think, what did he go off? Maybe I'm thinking wrong, Sharpe. I see your face, like the 85th minute or something. Maybe it wasn't as early as I'm thinking. Anyway.
No, Saka came off early.
Yep.
Saka did come off early as well. And apparently Arteta said that's due to illness. I am curious if I don't want to believe. I hate Arteta. He lies so much. So Saliba came off and Saka came off.
Eze came off at the 87th minute. So I would say that's
okay. So he played almost all the game. Anyway, so yeah, Eze scores. If he is like a consistent player for them, like if he's going to keep his minutes, then I think he's great value for what he's priced at. The argument to have somebody like a Saka, I think, is just that the ball goes through him a lot more. So in terms of bonus, he crushes it on the bonus side. And I think ultimately he just has a little bit higher upside, but yet to be seen whether that's 3 million higher upside. Gyökeres is still fine, I think. I honestly think that you could keep him if you had him. Like, I would still be fine keeping him with the next two that they have. But he's not somebody I love. I'm happy to be getting away from him. He's somebody who I am going to be watching and am not going to be super worried about that he's going to punish me for not owning him. And I know you've been feeling that way for some time, Sharpe.
Yeah, I mean, he just doesn't look quite right up there in the Prem. He's obviously returned actually pretty well in other leagues and games. So
Yeah,
good
he
for
just
him
looks
there.
slow and yeah.
Yeah, the Prem doesn't look like it's suiting him very well right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, if I'm looking at Arsenal, I'm going defense. Even Saka, with how they look specifically again in the Prem. Yes, it goes through him a lot more. Yes, he has those corners, but I don't think there's 3 million more upside. And Eze can be electric when he has the ball. And if they're going to give him that flexibility through the center to make those moves and do what he can do at times, he's kind of instant offense by himself, which when a team doesn't look quite cohesive, that excites me.
Yeah.
So that's why I like Eze, obviously sticking with Eze. And that was part of my thought process at one point.
Yeah. And just to talk through Arsenal a little bit more along those lines, like I don't think you can go selling your Arsenal assets, or definitely you need a double up, for sure, a double up and potentially the triple up for the next two, Burnley, Sunderland. After that, though, they go Tottenham, Chelsea, Brentford, Villa, and then back to some better fixtures, starting with Wolves. But around that's in 16, where around then we'll have 5 free transfers to be able to use on them. Yeah, again, per our earlier conversation, I wonder if Sunderland isn't quite as good of a fixture as we have it on paper. The problem is this week against Burnley, that feels like, we saw what City did to them. We know what Liverpool should have done to them. But I'm thinking back to when Arsenal played Leeds earlier in the season. It was 5-0. Like, this just feels like one of those games where they're going to click a little bit offensively. Unlike Liverpool, yes, they only won this game 1-0 and didn't look super threatening, but I feel like that's more of just a play style thing with Arsenal. It's less so like the attack isn't clicking. You know what I'm saying? So I'd be encouraged to have an attacking asset this weekend.
You're just saying that shit for fun. That's the only reason to say that.
I don't even it's not that deep to me, but I understand.
Yeah, that's because you don't have a team that you support.
Correct. I understand there are big feelings in the chat. All right. Any more thoughts on Arsenal or Palace? I mean, obviously they blanked this week against Arsenal, but I feel like that was kind of like a penciled in blank.
I think that there was a crazy stat that I read that Gyökeres touched the ball once, like in a shot creating action for Arsenal. Like, he was not. It's just hard to judge them because this is actually a good team in Crystal Palace. Like, Crystal Palace played them hard and well, right, and had a couple of chances too. But nothing more to add. But I still don't think. I think that he's a bully. I think that he is higher upside the next 2 games. But overall, the stocks are ice cold on him.
I think it's the same thing that we've talked about from the beginning with him. He's himself, like watching him on the eye test, he is a brutal player to watch. He's not like making really fast cutting moves that deceive defenders with the ball. He's very predictable. He's, to your point, a bully. Like, he uses his body, but he looks slow and lumbering and all that kind of stuff. So he's not somebody that's super threatening. I'm sure he has a strong, powerful shot on him, but up until this point, for the most part, that's just gone right at the keeper. I think the big issue is the big appeal is just that he is the Arsenal number 9. And that was what was buoying me for a while on him. But at some point, I think it makes sense to look elsewhere. I
also think long-term, if Kai Havertz comes back, he's almost assured to lose a spot. Like, Kai Havertz just plays well in this system. He does all the things that Gyökeres doesn't do. He's not as quick or as physical, but he's still, he's 6'1" still. And then he's just like this, like, crafty, smart player. So I worry about
if he doesn't score, he could lose a spot. But I think that he's doing like off the ball good things. I think if Arteta is looking at him, he's probably okay with him. But you're right. I mean, he's definitely going to eat at his minutes to some extent.
Yeah, I don't know. Not worth worrying about now, but just in general.
Cool. United, Brighton. So yeah, Mbeumo scores twice. Cunha scores. They all look good, except Bruno. The funny thing is Bruno had like a couple of big chances. It's just the same thing with him. I think I still don't think he's a bad asset, but he is the most frustrating player to own in the fucking game. And my mental health cannot handle it anymore. I think the problem is Mbeumo offers similar, albeit less, but similar routes to points and like threat. And he just has that like transitional goal scoring ability that I think it puts him over. If they were the same price, I think it'd be really, really close. But because Bumo's cheaper, it seems like a no-brainer.
I have a question.
Oh yeah, sure.
Are you saying fewer for Bumo, and are you only saying that because of pins?
Fewer routes to points.
Yeah.
Yeah, pens and defcons. Yeah.
All right, Defcon's fair. I guess I was thinking fully attacking because he's obviously playing more forward. Has one
No,
of them,
100%.
and
Yeah.
he has the corners if they could actually score off of him, or if you could just do what was it Truefart did. I'm calling him Truefart, by the way. Did this week and just fucking score off the corner. That was sick. But I think Bumo has plenty of routes to points, and
I agree.
Again, like you said, he's $1 million cheaper. I've been preaching it for weeks, so it's nice to hear you kind of change your mind.
I thought you weren't going to be an asshole on this podcast. You're flirting with it. Yeah, Bumo is less point or less price. I agree. I think if you're doing a pros and cons list, corners, they both have them. Set pieces, they both have them. So it's like semi-equal there. Bruno has pens. Bumo doesn't. Bumo has better like open play goal threat. Bruno doesn't. Bruno has defcons. And I think ultimately the tipping of the scales for me is how little Bruno does from attacking perspective. He will score. It's going to happen. He's going to continue to be involved. Like he's not playing a complete defensive mid. He's not Casemiro. Well, Casemiro's maybe a bad example, but you know what I mean? Like he's not a super defensive mid. But he's also just not scoring the way that, involved in the attack the way Bumo is.
There's actually no way you pulled Casemiro. That is the example.
That's so
that was
brutal.
crazy.
So brutal. I was thinking Caicedo too, and he's also scoring. So fucking never mind. Try to insert defensive mid.
I think that the system that United play too is like a counter-attacking system, right?
100%.
So if you're thinking about the way that they play, I think it would make sense in that he returns in teams that go at them a little bit more, and that like just as a general rule of thumb, like United players struggle when a team's like sitting back because they're not really like breaking down the low blocks and stuff like that. So I think it makes sense that Brighton, who just really like to run at you, they carved them up, right? They got good players, and like Bumo's a good player. Same with like Liverpool because they've had some defensive issues, just like Brighton. I'm a little worried though with the next two for the United assets that with Forest under Deichball that they just shut up shop, and then Tottenham haven't really been super open either. So, like, I don't think any of these United assets are bad, but if you're holding Bruno, I'm not sure that he's going to, like, go off big in the next two, Like, it might make sense to just downgrade to a cheaper United asset.
Do you think Deichball has set in yet, though? I wonder if we've still got a window here where Forrest is a target.
I cannot imagine he has not set it in as quick as possible. Like, that team is hemorrhaging goals, and if they concede a lot more at the rate they're conceding, they're just gonna get relegated.
And Bournemouth only put up half a goal of XG.
I mean, the first thing you do when you're trying to fix a broken team is you get the defense solid, right?
Right.
And Dyche is known for that. So if it's gonna get increased every game.
That's really fair. I think the thing with Bumo is just that I like him long term, but I do think looking at that fixture now and saying, hey, that's maybe not as good as what it was in theory. And I actually am relatively high on Spurs defensively now. They had been really good, but were overperforming, and now it just seems like they're just a relatively consistent defense. I would love to hear from you, Mac.
I wouldn't judge us yet, but like our defense is better than our offense. I was referring to Bruno, by the way. I think you could definitely pick up like an Mbumo and just save the money, right? But anyways, yeah, Spurs is an interesting one. I don't think people are giving enough credit to the fact that we do have a lot of carryover injuries from Ange last year, right? So Kulusevski, who is one of our main players on our offense, is injured. Maddison is injured. Solanke is injured, right? So that's three of our star guys on the attacking side injured, and we're just not putting it together. Everyone knows that. No need to belabor the point. Where it worries me defensively is just that then we invite a lot of pressure. Like we're not getting the ball forward a ton at all. And I just fear that if you let people shoot against us, eventually they'll score. There's good enough players in the Prem to just get one away on low XG shots, right? The games have also been really easy. We had arguably the easiest opening fixtures, and now they're about to get really hard. So I don't see there being a lot of clean sheets in the future for Spurs, even if the defense is better than we think. I'm calling them a sell as a fan.
Yeah, I think the only one that I was really thinking about, though, funny enough, is, I mean, how do you not just be like, well, Van de Ven's scoring for fun. Why not? But to your point, they've got Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Fulham, Newcastle, Brentford in their next 6. That sounds horrendous.
There's not much of a worse run there. And then you got Forest, Liverpool, Crystal Palace. So
yeah, it's just a rough time.
I don't think you can hold any of them barring some like dramatic shift in form.
Yeah.
I just don't see cleans being a thing, and we're not scoring. So
I think that's fair. Okay, one other thing I wanted to talk about, and then we can just jump into transfer plans and stuff, is just that we're starting to get into the thick of the European fixtures here. Like, so notably teams like Palace and Newcastle just have a lot of games and don't have a ton of ability to rotate. So just something to note. Obviously, we've got this international break coming up, but this is, we had talked about this on our Newcastle pod, just rotation central. I think it's interesting when you're talking about Palace assets, because like if you're looking at the community as a whole, like the Twitter sphere, everybody's gunning for Mateta and Sarr this week because the fixtures really turned for Palace. But this is also, again, I say this every week, but Mack, you're in the back of my mind and have been for a while, of just like, okay, but is this the time where Palace, the wheels start to fall off a little bit? They can't rotate very well. Or somebody like a Mateta or a Sarr, like their minutes get reduced because they're playing so much in Europe. I think that's also worth noting with Newcastle. I would be worried about Voltemade if it wasn't for the fact that they don't really have anybody else to put in. Over the weekend, he got pulled a little bit early in favor of Asula, but I think we've seen pretty clearly that Asula is not like a player that Howe wants to start. So I'm not super worried there, but I think defensively there could be some rotation. And I think just kind of assuming that maybe if you buy a defender, they might get rotated for a game here or there. But yeah, just worth noting that we're getting into that season where it's going to be really annoying to predict minutes, and that injuries are probably going to stack up a little more than they normally would.
Your definition of getting pulled early makes me laugh, because Waltmade got pulled at the 85th minute.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Like, we got 87 and 85th so far as getting pulled early. So
perfect. Then even better.
I don't think you should like not pick these players out of fear, right? Like if they're the best asset, until we get concrete signs that they're going to get rotated consistently, then I think it's okay to keep picking them. But it's just something to keep in the back of your mind, right? Like it's still, we're 9 games into the season, so just about a fourth. December, when you like these cup games, like now is approaching the busy time, right?
Yeah.
And then teams like Palace lose guys like Sarr, who's huge for the team, to AFCON for potentially up to a month, right? So don't panic yet, but something to be worried about. Like if we start seeing that like Eze is getting 60 minutes, then I worry, right? Or like Gakpo. But for now, it's okay. Like the teams that want to win the Prem need to play their best players to win the Prem. So I don't see like huge guys getting rotated a ton right now, at least.
I think I've asked this before, and I agree with everything you just said. I agree with everything both of you guys said on terms of rotation, and to not be too terrified of it unless something happens. I still don't understand the Palace love from an offensive perspective. Mateta, through 9 games, has returned in 3 games. Why do we... And then what, you have Brentford, Brighton. Yeah, Wolves is a good fixture. Honestly, I could wait till 12 and wait past Brentford and Brighton, and maybe I start to understand it. But even then, like, he's not proving to me that he's in there. He had a hat trick. That's sick. That's awesome. So should I go have my back line be Rodon, Mukiele, and Van de Ven every fucking game? Like, I don't get it.
Wow. Tell us more.
I get annoyed every single time I see every creator post this, and I just don't. It does not click in my brain.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about let's do the flip side of what we did at the beginning. What do you guys think the top 5 are teams for XG in the league?
I don't like this game because I'm guessing Palace is up there.
Well, Arsenal's in there.
Palace, Arsenal, that's
City, because Holland has more XG than some teams.
2 more.
Who's been good? Bournemouth?
Bournemouth, no. Bournemouth are actually pretty low.
That was actually a silly shout. Why did I say that? They play counterattack.
Bournemouth are 12.
Sorry. All right, strike one. What teams are there?
They're pretty traditional.
You always
teams.
blank, right? Brighton, would they be in there?
Nope.
That makes sense. They're 2 mid-table.
Pretty like solid teams that you'd think would be it.
Did we already say
Liverpool
Newcastle?
up there?
Liverpool?
Did we already say Newcastle?
No and no.
Bummer.
Is Tottenham in there?
No. Tottenham is 13.
low.
No, yeah, 13.
Whoa.
And
I guess
Bournemouth
I'm
is
only
12.
thinking of like 3 games. Okay.
You're missing one. Scored a bunch of goals this weekend. We just
United,
talked about them. United. There you go. So it's
Jesus.
in order. In order, it is Palace.
Okay, wait. And in fairness, I don't think of United because their first 3 goals of this season were fucking own goals on the other team.
So, but this is where and this is like the expected versus real, right? Because I think United are a good example. So just to run through it, it's Palace, United, Liverpool, City, Arsenal. After them, Chelsea, and then Brentford actually. But I think the expected versus actual is a real thing, right? So United, yeah, they really struggled to score goals early in the year, but they were the top team for XG for the first 6 weeks of the season, and they've continued to be that way. So then a game like they just had against Brighton where they overperform that XG, they score 4 in transition and do all this attacking stuff. That's the type of thing that in theory you want to be on the early end of. Again, not that I have been, but just in theory, hey, okay, this is a team that is producing a lot, but they're not actually scoring. Let's hop on those assets now. So I think that's the theory with Crystal Palace, to your point, Sharpe. It is worth noting that they put up 4 XG against Bournemouth last week, 2 weeks ago, whatever. So that's probably bloating this a bit. But someone like Mateta, he's insane for XG, and he's missed a lot of chances. So he's has not been very clinical finishing. He actually underperformed his XG when he got that hat trick. Anyway, so I think that's the thought process. But I hear you on not being sold on Palace. And I'm, if anything, worried that this is one of those, it's a false indicator of, okay, maybe you're buying the players because the XG is high and because they're doing so much offensively. And again, Palace have been coached incredibly. They look really, really good. But I am is that going to start to kind of deteriorate, right? Are they going to, I just think that Palace is ultimately a mid-tier side, or an upper mid-tier side maybe. So I think they could finish in, the 7-8 range in the league. And that maybe they're overperforming a bit as of now. The counter argument to that is they're coached really well. And I think Glasner's done an amazing job and they have really good players and it's all working. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm in the same camp to your point as some of the content creators being you got to buy them right fucking now. I also don't think Brentford and Brighton are absolutely insane fixtures. I think if anything 12 on when they play Wolves, United, Burnley 3 in a row is where I'm ooh, that looks really tasty. But yeah, I do hear you to an extent, but I also think Sarr and Mateta are both pretty solid options. And there's also not a lot of players, attackers who are scoring. So when you see a couple of guys who have done it a couple times, but yeah, I hear you.
No, I agree with you. I think as you're pulling up whatever you're pulling up that we're going to go into next, I think I would just say that if I had to rank, this is off the dome, so not 100% sure if I'm going to stand by this ranking once it comes out of my mouth. But if I'm looking at forwards, I have Haaland up there as number 1, no doubt, no question. That's fine. I think Waltemud, I don't even know why I tried to say his name.
Walter.
Big Walt.
I think he's my number 2 right now. And then I think Thiago and Welbeck are both up there for me, if not above Mateta, in line with him. I think JP, again, because my brain works and that I don't trust anyone, I think I'm going him even over Mateta at this point. So for me, Mateta just falls down the ranking.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm looking at both him and Sarr right now and just trying to look through their games really quick. But this is where this is the exact thinking that is going crazy in my head and the kind of shift I'm trying to make of all right, who's scoring? Just simplify it, Luke. Who's scoring, right? But Mateta, his XG is insane. It's actually crazy. He's putting up numbers that Salah and Haaland exclusively put up last season, right? So yeah, he had 3.67 expected goals alone against Bournemouth. He had 0.92 against Liverpool, 0.84 against West Ham, 0.79 against Villa. Like he's put a lot up. It's also in terms of like routes to points, he is like the guy that they're trying to get the ball to. He's on pens, all the things. So yeah, I don't think he's a bad pick. I hear you on like, hey, why don't you go for somebody like Woltemade or Thiago who are scoring a lot? But that's the argument in the antithesis. On my wild card, I don't have him right now, but I am considering him for sure.
I have him. I'm worried about the same things. Like it's not. I jokingly said as big at the back last week, and I'm starting to wonder if maybe that I should just commit to having one of Walt and Mateta, dropping it down to a Welbeck, and then like actually just investing heavy in the defenders. But I don't know. The fixtures are good. I feel like I have both right now, and then I can pick, right? So if he continues to underperform, I can sell him and move. If not, if Walt goes sideways, I can sell him too, right? Like we got options.
Yeah. Oh. All right. Well, you guys have already made your transfers, but do you guys want to talk anything about your transfer plans other than what you've made, or are you guys just locked in for 10?
I would talk about mine real quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
So you have,
short.
wait, sorry. I didn't know if you were going to flash teams or anything. I haven't seen anything we've put up this pod, so I don't know if we need to.
I just have your game week review. I don't have like your team with what transfers you made. I don't think I'd be able to see that.
No, I just sent it to you. I texted it if you're able to pull it up or not. If you have, yeah, that works too. There you go.
Yeah. Let's do Mack first, and then I can try to get it pulled up.
Can we? Oh, it's red, isn't it?
Whoa.
Interesting.
Wait, I actually saw it though. This is exciting.
Oh, what the hell?
I have no idea.
Yeah, Mac, just like stop sharing and then reshare, and then I'll add you back.
And during this break, please divert your eyes to the top.
No,
right
fuck StreamYard. Fuck StreamYard. They're fucking this shit up. Fuck them. All right, yeah, you want to zoom in just a touch, Mac?
There goes our one and only sponsor. Thanks.
All right. I went early. I did Mateta it's stupid because Sharpe said it, and apparently he's just manifesting everything this year. So
I know we should just text him before we make any moves and be like, hey,
Sharpe, you give me your approval to this move. Does it have the vibes?
This is bullshit because you do ask me and then you go against what I say. So
that's true. We have a lot of like we need to go to therapy, the three of us, and like do a trust circle or something because none of us trust each other.
It's unfortunately just that I know you two, like in real life. That's the biggest bias at play here.
Right.
All right.
That's so fair.
The only other. So I have one transfer. Nobody that I desperately need to transfer out. I don't think like. Nobody I could really get with one transfer. I don't know if I really use it. The games are pretty good for me this week. That begs the question, do I bench boost?
Oh, I forgot you still haven't done that. Well, I saw something. I don't know if Anderson is locked to play. So obviously you'd have to keep an eye out for that.
Right. That would be provided Anderson came back.
I know. Dubravka versus Arsenal, Senesi versus City.
And Semenyo versus City. They're not good.
Caicedo versus
better
Tottenham.
Teams with like no scoring. I don't know. It like asks the question like, should I transfer someone out, try to get one more better player with my last transfer and then bench boost? But I'm like 50% on it. It's just, and I like the fixtures in my starting 11 and not the ones on my bench. So why do that, right? But
have you been planning at all for the bench boost? Like, do you know of any other weeks coming up where you might have a good opportunity? Because yeah, I just see Arsenal and City, and I'm like, eugh.
Not really. Like, it's one of those things that I just look at and use if it makes sense. It's also. It makes it so much easier to use in the second half of the season because then you have all the doubles and you're like, all right, this is the obvious double that I'm targeting. Right now, I'm not like building my squad around it. So I feel like I'll see it when I see it.
Yeah. I mean, on paper, you have great fixtures. Sorry, go ahead, Sharpe.
No, I was just going to ask if you can you click on Senesi for me?
Yeah.
I mean, God, those fixtures just get so good. I was just going to say he hasn't deemed like he had obviously a great start to the season. In the last few games, he hasn't quite been there to the same level.
I think he's still the top DEFCON defender in the game, though.
I know. I'm looking at City and Villa, and I'm like, do you transfer him out to bench boost? And then, unfortunately, you no longer have your plethora of transfers. I'm thinking with your like banking them that you could then just bring him back in for West Ham, but I don't think that's worth it.
Yeah, I just don't see the value being there because he's risen so much in price. Like, and I got him early enough to where I thought about it. I did think about it because I was like, if I could improve one of these, then maybe it makes sense for a bench boost. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I probably won't
What do you
send it.
have? What do you have in the bank?
I got 0 in the bank. That's why I went early on Mateta. Didn't want to be price rised out.
Yeah.
So I did consider, like, should I get rid of a Tarkowski and bring in, like...
The funny
Okay.
thing is, it could be Keane. But yeah, go ahead.
No, it could be Keane. But on the topic of reclassifying the 3 worst teams, I would think that a Newcastle asset versus a West Ham would be better than a Tarkowski versus a Sunderland.
And big ass Dan Burn scoring a header off a corner.
Right.
Very,
or I could go Chow and
impressive.
save the point too, right?
Yeah.
And the fixtures kind of turn for Everton assets anyways. Alternatively, I think I could still straight swap. That's a tongue twister. What the hell? To Sarr. That could be interesting. So I have a little value at play with these.
I think I just right now in the moment looking at Sharpe's point about the Palace guys, like I've had Sarr in a lot of my drafts, but unlike Mateta, he does not have pens and he doesn't have like the XG. He has against Liverpool, he put up 0.75 and against Villa, he put up 1.45. Both of those just XG.
Okay, I agree. I need you to
I don't know if he's like in. It's tough because I think with Palace, if you think of like who are the goals going to come from, it's Mateta and Sarr. But
it's just that Sarr's been more involved in the recent games. That's the pro. But the con is I agree with what both of you were saying, and I wanted to see if there's any differing opinions.
I mean,
I didn't make that transfer instantly for a reason. Like I could have.
What I'm thinking is against Bournemouth, they put up like 4 XG as a team, and he only had 0.3. And again, XG. But I just mean in the sense of, yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't disagree. So
I don't think you need to go both of them. I wouldn't actually. I would try to find some other mid if you felt the need to move from Ndai.
Also, hang on. Yeah, I was forgetting you were transferring out Ndai. I like Ndai a lot.
No, I did too. I was not serious about that move. There's a reason I didn't insta-lock that one, right? Like I did the Mateta move.
I also think the rotation conversation we're having triple Palace right now feels like a lot. Like I think double is fine, but triple freaks me out.
Nope, I agree with all those points. Only thing I am actually seriously considering is to free up another move down the line, transferring in one of those Newcastle players.
Yeah.
I just think the Tarkowski fixtures get bad. Sunderland have been good. Does it make sense to just get them out now and just make that transfer and just hopefully gain points against West Ham? That's my question.
So something I didn't touch on when we were looking at that long-term view is we're getting into the time. So we're going into game week 10. We top off of transfers in 16. So it actually benefits you to be getting rid of those. So I almost think like, I don't know if this is the best example because Tarkowski's playing Sunderland and he could just have a solid game. And maybe you banking that transfer this week allows you to make a double move next week. That's really beneficial. But going for like a little bit more of the free hit style, if you will, in certain weeks and trying to be like, hey, this guy's he's got a great fixture. I want to just like attack this guy for a week or two and then get rid of him is a potential strategy that you can be doing right now. So thinking of it in that way, if there are anybody that you want to take a punt on for a week, like I don't think that's a bad way to use your transfers right about now.
Yeah. I don't know. The problem is with transferring a Newcastle defender is they do have City, Everton, Brentford, Spurs. And so I'm not rushing in to get him either. I don't know who else I would get, though, for Tarkowski money. They're fair points. I'm not going to make this decision live. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I would say don't try to look at Tarkowski money, though. I would open it up to every person who's out there. I mean, the trend on the season is that the highest score in a game week is going to be a 4.5 or below, it seems. So, I mean, excuse me, Van de Ven's 4.7, my bad. But, like, they've been very low defenders that are putting points up. I'm not scared.
There he goes.
Finally lost him.
Well, it's all right. I can call my spot there if you want to move in your wildcard team. There's not much to say.
God damn it! I wanted him to roast it though. Yeah, I mean, I think you're in a good spot though. I wouldn't be too concerned.
No, I'm not. I felt like I planned those moves for a couple weeks last week and Tarkowski versus Sunderland's not a bad move. So what I'm going to do, and I'll update on Twitter later, is I will just have to look at the next couple weeks to see if Tarkowski now allows me to do something else later, if banking is better.
Yeah. But I think you're in a great spot. Like nothing's high priority.
Nope. Agreed.
All right. So I think high level when building a wild card, the first thing to think about was definitely need double Arsenal. Definitely need Gabriel. I think Gabriel is like almost the first player that you throw in because he's just been so many roots of points. He's been so consistent and he's been hauling.
He's
I think,
our player.
Yeah, I think arguably double defense is essential.
Mm-hmm.
And get into Timber versus Calafiori. Calafiori getting pulled off with injury is maybe enough.
Timber.
Yeah, maybe enough to make that decision for me. So then I did think about going triple Arsenal defense or 2 defenders and an attacker. And I don't think that the third Arsenal player is like a must. But again, playing West Ham and Burnley after that. Burnley and Sunderland, excuse me. Playing those 2 games in a row. Again, I think I do want part of the attack. So those are a couple things. Obviously, Haaland is a lock. Outside of that, though, it's pretty open. So this is where I'm at the moment. And I think I sent this one to you guys over text, so it shouldn't be super, super different. I have like one alternative that I'm really looking at. But I kind of want to get an idea from a structure perspective if you think this is a good idea. So defensively, I'm pretty set. Like I really like that setup. In terms of the guys who are starting right now, Rodon and Senesi, I guess we could tweak around, but those guys just seem really solid. I think I could play them essentially every week. The nice part about having Senesi is that he rotates really well. When Chow plays City in a couple weeks, Senesi goes against West Ham. So I think that's just a nice rotation. So I like that, but he is expensive to be just sitting on your bench. Saka, Ndai, Sarr, Enzo, Bumo in the midfield, and then Voltemade, Haaland, and Gui in forwards. So structurally, this is the part that I'm debating, is maybe taking Gui up to like a playing forward, like a Thiago or a Welbeck, and then taking somebody like either Enzo or Sarr down to like a Dewsbury Hall. And I know Sharpe thinks I'm married to him, but it's more so just that he's 5.0 and he plays every game. So he's just the best cheap option in my eyes. Yeah, I'm not too worried about not having Bruno because I've been owning him and it's been a fucking miserable experience, and I don't think I want any of that.
Bruno isn't the talisman, so if you're gonna cash in on a guy, cash in on the guy who has the better numbers. Like Mbumo has the better numbers and he just doesn't have pens. But
and then the Saka pick is, so I could keep him for the long term in this structure. But notably, I'm missing Semenyo, and I'm not trying to pull the same shit I did at the beginning of the year of saying Semenyo, further distribution or anything like that. But I am looking at the next couple, or at least the next one, and just saying Saka versus Burnley, and then you have Semenyo versus City, who we talked about earlier is a top 3 defense. And I like that fixture so much more. Even if this is right now, I roll into this and then switch Semenyo next week for Saka. That's totally fine in my eyes. And this structure sets me up for in 12 making a triple move. So it would be Saka to Semenyo. It would be, what do I have it as? Enzo to Gakpo, somebody to Gakpo if he's still looking good. And then, what is the third move? Thiago in. So basically I can take Saka down in a couple weeks to Semenyo and then spread the funds, elsewhere. There he is. Welcome back. Anyway, so I structurally, I kind of want to talk about whether this is the right play. Sharpe, what I was telling Mack just now is that I'm between this structure and maybe doing something like a GUI up to like a Thiago or a Welbeck and taking one of the 6.5 mids down to like a Dewsbury Hall or somebody cheap, just to get him up to that. But otherwise, on the whole, I'm pretty like, overall, I'm relatively set. I feel like based on players who've been returning, which is so few, this team picked itself in a way. But I know we had talked a little bit offline about maybe Senesi. There's too much money tied up on the bench there. I just like the way he rotates with Chow. But anyway, that's where I'm at the moment. If I were to bring in Thiago or Welbeck, I would just bring one of the mids down. So that's it.
I honestly, I dig it.
This is
Like,
the only draft you're showing us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much.
no, I dig it. I don't have a lot of issues with this. I don't think that you're crazy for not having Semenyo versus City and then Villa and then choosing to have Saka for Burnley and Sunderland. Like if you wildcard, play the fixtures that you're gonna wildcard into, and then bank the transfers. Those are like the two rules of a wildcard, both of which you've planned on doing, and you have an easy route back to him if it becomes necessary. And you're timing the Arsenal flip, so that all makes sense. I do have some worries about the fact that you have three guys at the same price in the midfield.
I think I'm struggling to see. I was looking at this. Like I'm struggling to see players that are like in that 7 to 9 bracket that I want.
Agreed.
You know?
Totally.
That's
agree.
the only problem. Is the only other thought is genuinely, and I know it sounds a little crazy, is going with Cunha too. Like that would be the only other option. I feel like in that kind of bracket of somebody who's.
I don't think that's completely crazy, to be honest, but it's a lot of a reliance on a very inconsistent United team, and I don't blame you for wanting to spread it out a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Sharpe, I don't know how your internet connection's doing, but do you have any thoughts?
No, I fully hear you guys and see everything. Yeah, I don't know if it's changed that much. I still don't love Sarr. I think you could take him down.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I guess I lean the other direction of not wanting to waste a guy on my bench. So, Mark,
Gooey.
does you have someone in what is he? I mean, Thiago's 6.1.
Yep.
And toss that around. And I Walter over.
Sure,
You need someone. I mean, unless you want to play him against City.
Yeah, you're choppy there, but I think what you're getting at is that I think what you're getting at is getting Gooey up to like a Thiago or a Welbeck and one of the 6.5 mids down to Dewsbury Hall or somebody cheaper. Not doesn't have to be Dewsbury Hall. And then to your point, you're talking about Voltamade and my plan there. So basically, the long-term moves here would be in a couple weeks, in a week or two, Saka down to Semenyo, and then use those funds to change Voltamade to a Mateta when their fixtures really turn as well. So those are kind of like the aggressive short-term plays that I would make in that sense. But I think even before we hopped on and then throughout the course of this pod, I'm kind of agreeing with you in terms of the more I've looked at someone like Thiago, I've been really interested in. I think the only negative is their fixtures are pretty ass. Brighton's are slightly better. But yeah, I'm definitely open to that change. I don't know. But is there anything else structurally? Like, is there... I don't know. It is a weird one where there's not that many alternatives. So
I
it's
do
a little
question
tricky.
if you should put more money into the defense. It's sort of the same debate I've been having with my own team. Just like if goals are down, if none of the attacking options are super convincing, should you be looking more heavily at some of the higher priced defenders in place of a mid-priced mid who isn't scoring a lot?
Sure.
That's my only structural question. But other than that, I think you're right. A lot of these guys pick themselves.
So I did look at doing triple Arsenal defense. And I think the problem is just that you run into some tough fixtures pretty quickly. So you've Burnley and Sunderland, and then after that it's Tottenham, Chelsea, Brentford, Villa. Not like the worst run, and it's Arsenal's defense, so I think you can be pretty confident in them. But when you have alternatives that are playing easier fixtures in that time period, it feels like maybe 3 players all relying on the same thing are a little much.
No, I agree, but so I'm surprised you don't have like a Munoz in there, for instance.
Sure.
Like, what if you took like one of those 3 in the middle and dropped them down to a stronger Palace defense? Because you said they're second for XGC. We know they're well coached. They held Arsenal to 1 goal.
I think Palace are 11th or 10th for XGC, but they're first for XG. But regardless, like. I think Munoz is a really interesting one because... Or
even a Richards could be good, although I don't think that's... I don't know. I'm just wondering, all of the guys, like in Dye, Sarr, and Enzo, when they return once, right? And so a return for a midfielder is like they're
It's
not
a clean sheet, basically. Yeah.
It's a clean sheet, right? But I feel like clean sheets have been more consistent than returns for these low price forwards this season.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm watching from a strategy change perspective. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's up to you. Your moves are well planned, so to each their own.
I mean, I like the Munoz shout for sure. I think that could be really interesting. I just am nervous about, like, we've seen Palace be this team that keeps a lot of cleans, and I'm worried if that's going to continue. But I do like the idea of him for sure.
It doesn't have to be him too. I think, like, I have Richards. Guehi has been scoring a decent amount. So
but Richards is in an attacking threat. I've had him as well. He's just a DEFCON guy. He's a baller on the DEFCON side of things.
Right.
I still think he's underowned, but
he's great for 4.5, and that's why I have him. But if you're wild carding, I'm saying, does it make more sense to get a Guehi or a Munoz? If you don't want to go all the way up to a Munoz because he's expensive as hell, you can go Guehi for same price as Chow.
Yeah, I just like Newcastle better defensively, and I don't think that I get too much better from Guehi. So
no, I don't disagree, but then there's another argument to be made. Like, okay, if you're not going to play Senesi in the next two, is there a higher upside to bringing in like a Guehi who has Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, and then you can make the decision on Senesi?
That's a good call. Yeah, the thought process was more of a rotation, but that's a pretty good call, because especially if there's injuries or there's some reason I need to bring him in, I think that would be tough in the next couple weeks.
So, and by the way, I don't disagree with any of your picks. I'm just picking holes in it for this.
No, I want you to pick holes in it. No,
I could be happy sending this team. Just to your point on trying to capitalize on the fixtures, that might be like a play. Who knows?
I think the Guehi call is a really good one in the Munoz, but. Okay.
Sharpe, what are you thinking? Give us some words if you can.
Talking. Can you hear?
Yeah.
No,
all right. Well, that's probably a good spot to just wrap it up then. Yeah, Sharpe, you're chopped up as hell. But yeah, I mean, I'll continue to just absolutely obsess over this team for a while and make some ridiculous moves for a little bit. That was surprisingly, there was a lot less banter than I expected on that. I thought someone would really disagree, but I do think we're also at the point in time where a lot of the players have really put their hands up of like, I'm a good player. So it's from that perspective, it is relatively easy choice.
I'll banter more when I'm inspired again. I've just been having such a rough year that it's hard to feel joyful.
Beaten down by the game,
but that's all right. We'll come back, or we won't, and we'll get it next year.
Yeah.
Play the game for a reason.
Yeah. All right. This has been the Three Wanks FPL podcast. We will see you guys next week when we all are on Crazy Green Arrows, except Sharpe. Fuck that guy.
See ya.